William and Mary, thank you for joining us. I want to begin this community conversation by acknowledging the moment that we're at this week, a moment with a good deal of sadness for our nation. We are reaching the projected COVID-19 peak in the United States. We know that's been a rolling peak in different states, but last week, this week, and the next are ones where we will see the most impact for our communities. Tomorrow, Thursday, April 16, we're going to hold a moment of silence for the William and Mary community, a moment of silence and reflection, and we'll toll the Wren bell at 7:30 p.m. Two seniors from the William and Mary Choir will sing Shenandoah for us. I invite you to join us. We want to honor our healthcare workers and essential service providers in this country. We want to mourn those that we have lost in our community, in our nation, and around the world. We are a community that takes care of each other, and that care that our William and Mary community is bringing to each other is pouring out this week in a way that's inspiring. Spring is also the time of year that we welcome new students to William and Mary. The class of 2024 is making their decisions. New graduate students and transfer students are thinking about where they're going to be next year. Our newest class and our newest students are coming to know William and Mary in a completely different way this year. Their stories are incredibly exciting. They fill me with optimism. And these early connections are our focus for the conversation today. What's it like to take this incredibly important decision on at a moment of pandemic? Admissions and enrollment challenges, the opportunities that face us, what's new that we can discover during a pandemic is the topic of our conversation. Many of you know that William and Mary's 1944 student handbook stated, "Those who come here belong here." So I want to think together with our guests today about what this phrase means for us right now in a time of quarantine. We have four guests for the conversation today. Dean Tish Canaday, Associate Dean of Admission and Director of Diversity and Access. Hank Blackburn, class of 2020, and a student volunteer in our admissions office. Hank, you may know, many of you, because he was responsible for a wonderful tour of campus, and we want to hear more about that, Hank. Sonia Kinkhabwala, class of 2021, somebody I first met as an entrepreneurship fellow at our entrepreneurship hub. And I know Sonia and her other fellow companions and colleagues have been thinking with the admissions team about how we reach out to prospective students this spring. Ellie Kurlander is a student in William and Mary's class of 2024. Woo, 24! Congratulations, Ellie, and welcome to William and Mary. Thank you. So I want to ask all of you, and maybe we could start with Hank because you've been involved in the admissions process for a while. Concretely, what's different this year? Maybe top three things that are different.
Yeah, I think the big thing that I've really noticed, I think this is a very positive difference I've noticed. I think the admissions office has done a really good job, and I think the word would be overhauling the amount of one-on-one interactions we've been doing. I mean, every day this week, I've probably been FaceTiming or calling or Zooming prospective students, just talking about anything and everything about the college. And normally that's, not that that isn't the case normally. I'll always have people emailing me, and it's always really exciting, but we're really doubling down on the fact that we can only really do this, not individually as in like atomized, but together, everybody's just coming together and reaching out to students and saying, we want you here. And it's not just the fact that it's awesome that you're coming, but you make our community stronger. And we've been really, really emphasizing that. I think it's probably the biggest one. Two others, as probably happens in a lot of time of crises, I think it has brought a lot of the admissions staff and probably a lot of this admissions students a lot closer together. I think we've kind of had to reevaluate, how do we work as a team? How do we kind of push our message forward? How do we adapt it? Of course, with everything going on. I wish it'd be under better circumstances, but I think it is really cool to see us evolving with a lot of what's going on. We've probably had the idea of a virtual tour on our to-do list for years, probably at this rate. So we finally got a good reason to go and do it. So I think it is really exciting seeing everything evolve. Um, Gosh, a good third one. I think this is more of a personal one. I think just, and this kind of goes with the first one, the amount of personal interactions I've had in light of all this, whether it's just, like I said, calling or Zooming or FaceTiming students who are looking to come here or have been admitted. The amount of my interviewees from the summer that have reached out just to talk about everything about this college has been so, so awesome. And I think it is kind of changing what we take to be like the typical admissions experience for people who are coming in. I think it's really exciting to see. I'm excited for normalcy to resume at one point, but it is cool. I'm getting to meet a lot of really interesting students that I never would have had the chance to. So yeah.
I did it again. I do it every time. And it's amazing to hear a closer sense of connection growing in the process deliberately. Sonia, this is, I think, your first time being involved in admissions. Is that right?
I have been a tour guide for, I guess, 2 years now.
Okay.
But learning new things every day and always new people, so it's always exciting to be a part of things.
So what's different? Maybe top 1 to 2 things that are different.
Let's see. I think, to echo Hank, I really think that it's the personal connections.
Mm-hmm.
That's always my favorite part of giving tours. I had one incredible family. They took, I think, one of my first tours, and they were an Indian family, and they were from New Jersey, which is where I'm from, and they were so worried about their student finding connection here, finding a place of belonging far from home. And they actually bought me samosas after my tour, which was so nice because it was an Indian holiday. And I recently had that same girl reach out to me. Now she is deciding whether she wants to come to William & Mary. And just to have that follow-up with her and for her to remember our tour and our time together has been amazing. And it was really nice to see her reach out along with several others considering students.
I'll go to the other veteran in the group here. Tish, maybe you could say what seems different to you this year.
I will definitely echo the connections. I think that people, both my colleagues in admissions, counselors that I've worked with previously, students, I think everybody is just craving connection. And along those same lines, I think that it's very hard to curate yourself in this moment, right? Like, people are getting the opportunity to see you and like to really, really know you. And I think that that's something that's been important to us anyway, is trying to figure out how to get who we are across. But what's different this year is you don't really have to, oddly enough, you don't have to figure that out. Like, it's just, everything's just stripped away in a way that makes it where your authenticity just kind of comes across. It has to. There's nothing else really to put out there but what's authentically you. So I think that's something that's different. It feels a little less, honestly, packaged. It does. It feels a little bit more just kind of straight people to people. And I actually really appreciate that about this year.
And stuff has got to be crazy different from a work standpoint, though, for who's on admission staff right now, as we've gone through the last month of extraordinary disruption and effort. Just the thing that's so pressing to me is the intensity of the effort, unrelenting, and how different our working lives are. Do you want to add anything with your various hats on?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that's been really awesome across the board, again, I will say this I kind of look at everyone in the admissions office as it's a team, right? You have your deans, but you also have your tour guides who've been just extensions of our team. You have your interns who've been extensions of our team, right? And I think that what's really funny is we're a connected group of people anyway. Like, I talk about my son more than ever. He's the coolest person on the planet. But I think that he's been in every Zoom meeting. I had a conversation with the students. I was speaking with the student about some visa stuff and just getting things worked out in order to be ready to enroll. And we thought it would be better to have a face-to-face conversation instead of a phone call. And so we set up an opportunity to Zoom. And he got the opportunity to meet my son before having ever stepped foot on campus, because I can't really put my 18-month-old someplace else. So it has been, it's been really interesting to do this work this year, because again, it does take, it's taking one-on-one effort. You know, I can't speak to 45 people in a room, but I still need to connect with those 45 people, right? So it's just taking a little bit more time and effort. But it's also, again, just so much more personable, because they're in my life, in my home. And it's been really cool. I think for me, it's been cool to get to see people, and for them to really get to see me and meet my family and all those. They're going to be a part of our family anyway. I hope they all drop into the admissions office. So now they're just getting to meet them a little bit earlier.
Yeah, we are definitely in a much fuller way part of each other's lives.
Yes.
This year. Ellie, you said something really interesting as we were thinking about this conversation and brainstorming a little about it. You said that the question that you thought would be most interesting is how our mindsets have changed. So I'm really curious how your mindset has changed since the quarantine and the canceling of schools, your own school, right? As well as the ones that you wanted to visit.
Yeah, definitely. I think my mindset has changed, especially going into William & Mary in the class of 2024, because we have to have a sense of adaptability, because what's happening like right now is unlike anything that's happened in a lifetime. So coming in, I feel like that's a unique experience, and talking with other fellow seniors in my high school class and with other William & Mary admitted students, it was really interesting to see how similar each of our perspectives were. I was speaking to an admitted student who I became friends with over the Facebook chat, and she explained how over senior year, she missed out on so many weekends with friends and time spent at high school sporting events because she was laser focused on academics. And she assumed in the spring, this is the time I'll be able to be with friends and relax and celebrate my achievements. And so looking back, she realized that she wanted to change her mindset and push herself out of her comfort zone when she began college, because nothing is permanent, everything changes so fast. And I think with that mindset, there's also a mindset that you have to keep of optimism, because that's the only thing that really gets anyone through quarantine. And I think what's really special about my class and our mindset in particular is that we have a sense of guilt that we shouldn't feel bad about what is happening to us, because there are so many greater evils in the world. But with that, we acknowledge that it'll get better. And the only thing that we have to hold on to right now is hope, which I think is a really important mindset that I hope to carry on next year with everyone else.
That's really powerful. Our current students, I know, are grappling with that too. A conversation with the president's aides last night, and one of the important insights, I think, is that there's no acknowledging all the feelings, the grief and the sense of loss for real things we've lost. That's not the opposite of standing together. That's not the opposite of hope and optimism. That is part of acknowledging where we really are right now, and allowing, and you wouldn't be feeling grief if you didn't have deep attachments. So the flip side of grief is knowing that you are so closely bonded with each other, with your friends and your teachers and your colleagues. So really powerful insight to start a college experience with. I think that's real wisdom that the class of 2024 is going to carry going forward. What would be your answers, Sonia and Tish and Hank, about how your mindset has changed this spring?
Who wants to go first? Oh, no, I was not volunteering, but okay, I'll go ahead and go. I think similar to Ellie, I think I've become a lot more focused on more important things with all this going on. I've certainly gone over my data limit on my phone with all the FaceTiming I've done with my friends just to make sure everybody's good, everybody's doing okay. Um, yeah, I think it really just does center around the idea that a lot of my priorities and I guess time management focuses have really altered a lot. Um, like classes are still incredibly important, but I'm finding like there's things in class that I'll focus on more versus I couldn't before because I was busy with a ton of things, or I had 80 different things to go and do at like my apartment complex or for my extracurriculars, which is awesome. And I love being so busy. But now I'm in like a Plato book club with my professor because I'm bored and I'm like, all right, sure, why not? I think I'm finding a lot more time for all these really different and weird interests I've always had that I'd always told myself, oh, once graduation comes, I'm going to do it. Once graduation comes, I'm going to do it. It's like, well, there's no time like the present now. So I think it's very Carpe Diem-esque.
Mm-hmm. Sonia, how about you?
Well, what Hank said just reminded me of, I feel like I have a much closer relationship with my professors, which is really cool. I mean, definitely throughout my time at William & Mary, all of my professors have been friendly, willing to help, always there, door was open, but there's something about, I mean, like we've been saying, not being together and, not being able to go to office hours, not being able to climb up the Morton stairs and, get all out of breath to go see a professor. But it's great to be able to just go into sort of a professor's Zoom room, meeting room, and just be able to talk and have, at least I feel, have a more space to just talk about what's going on in your life as opposed to a problem that you're having with an assignment or to review your test. And, I think that's always there, but sometimes, at least my experience, I felt shy or intimidated or, maybe they don't want to hear about this or maybe it isn't appropriate. But I've been able to open up more, and I think, everybody is holding that space for each other.
Quick interjection. One of Sonia and I's professors recently had a baby, and we've been able to see her on Zoom a couple times, which is so fun.
Yeah, for sure.
How about you, Tish?
I think that what's been exceptionally evident to me is I'm like all that I've ever done and all that I've ever really wanted to do was work with students. I've been in education my entire career. And I'm very hyper aware now that you have to love what you do. If I didn't love this, it would figuring out how to connect to it over distance would be difficult. It would be more difficult. But I think that when your motivation is, I spent a couple of years as a counselor, when your motivation is students and helping them find fit and knowing that it's important, it makes it where it all kind of blends into your life. You have to figure out how to fit this stuff into your life, and not just fit like 8 hours in the front end and then you go home, but how to fit it all into your life. And I think that because it matters, it makes it all make sense, really. That's what I think has really stood out to me in my brain as far as just like a outlook on things, really.
You said when we were thinking about this conversation that one of the surprising gains for you is discovering what's the same.
Yeah.
Under intense pressure, intense disruption, knowing what's the same and what carries through is really powerful.
Yeah.
You have a reflection on that?
Yeah, that to me has been that's been the most comforting part of it, is that, to me, the most comforting part of all of this has been that, I thought about the connection with students and getting to know them the best. We were getting to know them through their applications, right? Like it was just as important to know you then before we knew this was going to happen, as it is to know you now. And the exact same excitement that I would feel leading up to Day for Admitted Students, I have that excitement leading up to Digital Day for Admitted Students. I still feel like I'm providing students an opportunity. We're providing them an opportunity to know all of the cool stuff that we have, and we're still getting that to them. It's exactly the same as it was. That's something that's exactly the same as it was before. We were joking about that earlier. It's just like, it's almost fast, y'all. And it's like, yeah, it is. It's coming up soon. So, that's been exactly the same.
I could see that. So how excited you were to meet Ellie too, since you read her application. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ellie, when you talk to other students who are thinking about this decision right now, are there things that stand out as still the same, as constant through lines?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's interesting because I joined a lot of William and Mary group chats just to get to know everyone, and I joined the Facebook page, and it's when you go on those pages, you wouldn't even know that there was a pandemic going on, which I think is really interesting because we're all just so excited about just starting a new chapter. And if you look through all the little exchanges, everyone's still trying to find roommates, and everyone's still just trying to celebrate those who are new to the community. Everyone's adding different posts and bios each day. So we're able to learn, and it's not a distraction from what's going on. It's more of a light, like here's what our future looks like, which I think is really good that's something that's normal, that feels normal, which is really good in times like these. And kind of like what you said, Tish, about like the digital days, that still feels normal because we still get to check in and learn new things about the community and meet different people in the community who work for William & Mary and who also are attending. So we're still learning, and it feels all very natural and normal, which is something that's very difficult to do and with a very quick turnaround time.
Okay, you just made like dozens and dozens of people so happy that you said that. Because I know what it took. I've been watching the effort and the commitment and the passion about how do we express ourselves in this new medium and show who we are among so many students and staff that are part of this process of welcoming our new students. So that was a big Valentine you just sent. Thank you. What I'm really interested in, what maybe one thing jumps to mind for each of you about what we're going to carry forward from this spring. What are the insights that we're learning now that are going to continue to matter? Maybe how we do things or how we know each other.
I think that a major one has been that, oftentimes we'll get caught up in the fact that it's admissions and it's college decisions. And sometimes what we do is we put aside the fact that people have lives. They have other things that are important as well. And I think that I've been, for example, hypersensitive to the fact that students have a lot to think about. And the last thing that I want to do is complicate anything, make this process or this decision complicated in any way. Because you don't want to add anything to what people are already carrying. But before this pandemic, people were carrying things, carrying things that were heavy, that were hard. And it's not always as simple as, is it this college or the next? I think we're very aware of that now because it's universal, but I think that we should keep that as we move forward, that this is an important decision, but these students, these kids, their lives are happening, at the same time. So I think that's what I'm going to hold moving forward for sure.
Sonia.
I know when I've been reading, I've been reading a lot of the news and trying to, reach out to different people and, just ask how things are affecting them. And I think one thing and people have been doing that with me, a lot of my William & Mary family as well. And it just has meant the world. And I really hope that one thing that we all carry forward, which I think is already prevalent in William & Mary, and that's why I love William & Mary so much, but that I hope that we can hold is that we need each other. And, not trying to do it all alone, and just leaning on each other and knowing that that's okay. And it makes us stronger. And I just hope that we can continue to have that mindset as we move forward.
Hank.
That's a good question. I think one thing I've been really thinking about with a lot of this is that there really is no substitute for a lot of the real in-person intimacy and interaction you get to have in normal times. I think this is a lot of the stuff we've been able to do is a really good supplement, and I'm so proud we're doing it. I'm so excited to be able to shake people's hands again and give them hugs and go to places. I'm stuck in the attic of my garage right now with my dad's fishing poles, and it's the only variation in color I'm seeing. I'm ready to go do something different, but I'm also just ready to go see people again in person. And I think so the big tradition for tour guides is you give your last tour, and it's a little sad because a lot of people weren't able, or all of us really weren't able to do that this year. And we'll talk about this later with the virtual tour, but that's kind of the best part about doing something with admissions is being able to see people and be 6 feet in front of them in person, talking about all these really amazing and awesome things about the school. So I think a reappreciation, if that's a word, of everything that this is about, I think is something that I hope we take forward. I think it's something that's very taken for granted very easily. So
we're gonna make sure you get that last tour. We'll probably put it on videotape too. Okay.
I appreciate it.
Ellie, as you're thinking about you and all the other students that we're welcoming into our expanded community, is there anything from this experience that you think, you started us off this way already, but anything else you'd add that you'd want to carry forward?
I think in the broader sense of William & Mary's history, it's a school that's very grounded in tradition. And I think that's what attracted many of the applicants and many people who choose to enroll in the school. And I think that one thing we can carry forward is this sense of tradition, maintaining old traditions while also starting new ones for seniors who may have missed the high school traditions that are important to them. I think that's something that's really important that I'm looking forward to carrying on next year.
We were just talking again with the President's Age, which include a number of seniors, about as we imagine the virtual last day of classes, which we have to have, and as we come together for commencement, when we do, which we will do, those are going to be different, incredibly different than the usual moments of passage. And we're going to be inventing traditions that will carry forward. We are going to be now, this year, inventing traditions that are going to last for a long time at William & Mary. And that's an extraordinary thing. That is the community. You're right, Ellie. That's the community that we are. We think about our ceremonies and our traditions in that forward-looking way, which is really cool. Any last pieces of advice if you were choosing a university community to join right now? What distinctive things right now at this moment you'd be thinking about? Yeah, start with Ellie.
That's a tough one. I think moving forward, one thing that I really paid attention to, like everyone mentioned towards the beginning of this discussion, was how each college added a personal touch in times when we can't physically be together in a space. And with that, I think that William & Mary has done a really exceptional job making me feel seen and acknowledged and known. I woke up a couple days ago to a handwritten letter from an alumni of William & Mary. Today, I opened my mailbox and I saw an envelope full of William & Mary stickers. And just all of these personal touches, that's something that really just kind of solidified my decision to go to William & Mary. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind for those who are still undecided about a school. It's just looking at schools who have these personal touches and want their students to feel seen and known. And yeah.
Sonia. Yeah. Or Tish.
I think I would probably say that what for seniors in particular, for high school seniors, what has mattered to a college still matters. And I would say that is the advice that I would give. I would give those to my students when I was counseling. What matters to the college, it matters now. And how you feel you still can get that feeling. How you feel about it and the way that you've been seen and what you've gotten the opportunity to experience, you can still make a decision that that's about where you fit. You still have all the pieces, and the effort that's put into making sure you get those pieces. It's fair for you to consider that when you're deciding where you want to be for the next 4 years. It's fair to do that. And everyone has their fit. You know, you just gotta look at all those pieces and figure out which one works for you.
Thanks. Sonia?
I would just say take it easy on yourself. And you know, just give yourself space and grace. It's really, I think it's hard for us all to do that. And depending on, you know, what your situation is, what you're going through, like Tish said, what you're carrying before, and you know, what's happening now, of course, but just be easy on yourself. You've worked so hard, and you know, you should know that at William Mary, we're, you know, ready to carry you, and I'm sure, you know, wherever you go, that will be the case. And yeah, just, you got this. Have confidence in yourself and be easy on yourself.
Hank, a quick last word.
Yeah. Find a place that's just as excited to have you as you are excited to go there. I think convocation is always the easiest and most prevalent example of that at William Mary. I think it's the truest example too. I'm also stealing this from a friend about something else, but I think that's like the biggest principle that you're looking for. It's make sure that you feel like you're being included in the community and you're not just someone who's blessed to go there. Like it is a two-way street, and it's something to make sure that you are getting and that you feel as you're heading in. So that'd be it.
That's wonderful. Such good advice from the four of you. I want to thank you all, Ellie, Sonia, Tish, Hank. This was a wonderful conversation. Really, really appreciate you sharing your experiences so candidly. And to everyone else who's listening, thank you for joining us. I want to extend an invitation to folks out around our community, around the world, to help us welcome the class of 2024 and all our new students this year at William & Mary using hashtag WM2024. It's easy to welcome people. Let's do that together. I'm getting in these conversations such a strong sense of momentum and confidence in the future, listening to you talk about the community that we are creating now under pressure, and also the strong through lines. Tish, I really appreciate that insight. Has been inspiring and really encouraging. That's what we needed this week, especially. So I invite all of you to hold on to that sense that we're in it together, and Hank, we're borrowing great ideas from each other. That's how we work, and that's how we get great ideas rolling. Everyone, please do join us tomorrow for a moment of silence and reflection at 7:30. Remember that we are a community whose charter has the audacity to imagine a place of learning for all times coming. And that's what we're about together. I'm really grateful for having you all here. And I'm going to sign off the way I always sign off these days by saying, stay well, William and Mary.